Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And this one we're going to be installing this odometer gear kit in my 1992 Pontiac Firebird. My odometer stopped working at 186,000 miles. I'd like it to keep working. There really hasn't been a good DIY on how to do this entire procedure, so I'm going to go through step by step, and together we'll get this thing over with. So that being said, let's get into it. For the past couple of weeks, my odometer's been stuck at 186,544. I have no idea how many miles I've been getting per tank of gas. This car has quite a bit of miles on it, so for a lot of people they probably wouldn't care if it stopped working, but I'm kind of a purist, and this car is in relatively good shape, so I'd like to keep the miles recorded. So the first step should be removing our entire dash pad. Supposedly it's only like a handful of Phillips head screws, like 4 by the defrost vents and a couple down under. Of course we're going to find out and see what kind of speakers we got underneath as well. So let's give that a go. So it turns out the top dash screws are actually 7, well it's not a 7, but 7 fits just fine, some sort of standard size. I just got this long extension here to my ratchet. That's how we get that out. Alright, so those 4 screws are going to be these much longer ones. Keep them separate so you don't lose them at all. And now we got to get underneath here, and it looks like more of these 7mm-esque sizes, so we'll take those out now. Alright, looks like there's one here, one there, one there, another one here, some more up in here, some more up in here, 3 more over there. They're pretty scattered, but we'll get them out. Alright, there was approximately there was 10 screws total, those little ones that go underneath the dash. So, got them all together, and now I'm going to try to pull out the dash. Just come out. Oh yeah. Ooh, that's actually really easy. Oh my goodness, now I gotta find a place for this thing. Looks like I hit the compressor, is it? So overall the dash is actually in pretty good shape. The foam hasn't totally turned into dust or anything, which is surprising to see for a Kansas car, especially. New dashes can be upwards of, what, $700 something, maybe $400 for a cheaper quality one, but we only really have 3 main cracks. A lot of them crack in the middle pretty bad, so overall I'm pretty happy with this dash. Here's what it looks like with the dash removed. Very bare. Our speakers look original to me, so it's kind of cool. Not a bad sounding stereo by any means. I don't know what that's from. That's not good. Huh, okay, well. So yeah, now we got that out of the way, we got to work on getting this cluster surround off. Alright, so the cluster surround, it's actually loose. I think there's some screws or something holding it in down there. So I'm gonna figure out how to get this thing off. It looks like there's a couple screws underneath here, like 2 7s, and then we'll see if it just pulls off after that. After you take out those 2 7s, this just pops out like this. Be careful not to break these tabs or this thing will just hang and look ridiculous. Looks like we got another screw in there. It's hard to see, but it is there. And then probably another one over here if I had to guess. So we gotta figure out how to get this dash undercover off. So on the under dash pad, we got, looks like a Torx bit there, and another one over there, and probably some secret ones down in here. Yep. So I got just a 10 mil right there, another 10 mil, or no, it's a Torx bit. So looks like there's a lot of Torx bits on this one. Kind of an odd choice for a 92 General Motors vehicle, but I guess we're in for a surprise. Alright, so once you take out these 4 T27 Torx bit screws and this one 10mm in the bottom, this thing will just pull down out of the way. And now we are exposed to our next set of 10mm that hold the bezel on. But there's 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one over there. Alrighty, once those 4 7mm are removed, the bezel should just come right out. Catch a little bit on some stuff. Now we're gonna sit this guy out of the way, and now we are pretty much fully exposed to our cluster. Next thing to remove should be these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7mm bolts, screws. Once the 6 screws are out, this cluster is totally loose here. Someone said you had to drop the column for it to even fit, and that might be the case, but I'm gonna try to lower this as best as I can. I don't think it's gonna be able to. I'll have to hold this down with one hand and then kind of finesse this thing out. Oh, that might be a tight fit. So I gotta figure out how to unhook this. Oh no, it just sits in the walk, I see. This actually should fit. Oh my god. Maybe not, this lock cylinder hump might be in the way. Yeah, I think this thing's too long to fit. Looks like we'll have to drop the column most likely, so I'll look into doing that. There's going to be 2 12mm holding in this sort of shield here. One there, and then one up there. Once you have that shield out, there are 2 more 12mm nuts right there and right there that should drop this column. So you actually don't even have to remove these all the way, just loosen them to where they're flush with the threads there. And this thing drops down enough for you to clear the top and pull out your gauge cluster. And here it is. And there's no wiring harness to deal with, it just plugs into the back there, which is a pretty good idea. So here it is. We'll get this thing on the bench and get started tearing it apart. On the top here, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Phillips head screws that take off the plastic. What you're going to do after you take out those screws is you're going to pull this up, and this actually just threads on here to set your tripometer. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to clear taking out the lens, which just lifts right out like so. That thing needs to be plastic polished terribly. Set it aside, and this black bezel comes off, and there's where your turn signals and high beam indicator are. And then here we are down to the nitty gritty. You got Those old orange bulb covers in there. That's awesome. But we're looking at getting this out. The first thing is these two tiny little Phillips heads right there. Your speedometer just pulls out. The face of the gauges lifts up. Still somewhere you won't lose it. And we're trying to get inside of here. We also got to get this off. On the back of our cluster here, we're going to take out these three Phillips heads and then those three Phillips heads. Once the 6 screws are removed, this should all be free. And this should be free as well. It's like this comes off first, that's what the light travels through. And then this whole assembly just lifts up and out. Firstly, we want to remove those two Phillips heads to get that motor out that spins the gear. Now that we got our motor out, we can look in and see what our problem is. There's a tooth of the gear just lying there. So whenever it makes a certain amount of rotations, it just stops dead in its tracks. Hard to tell on the camera, but it's broken right there. I just attempted to spin this with my hand to get this to move up, and the gear just shattered even more, so it's definitely time for that thing to be replaced. Just chunks laying in there now. Then you'll want to pull out those two Phillips heads there and there that hold the whole back of the assembly together. And this just lifts off like so. So now your wiring and everything is separate. That's your speedometer mechanism right there. It's kind of cool. And now we can get to our gear. Here's everything in our kit from odometergears.com. It's about 40 something bucks after shipping and tax. Comes with our new pieces here. A drill bit, in case you don't have any drill bits, to drill out the side of that gear. It's just all pressed in and everything. And then a new rethreader here. So what we're going to do is use this drill bit and drill out that right there. The goal here is to just drill that head off. My drill is old and giant, so I'm just holding this down with my hand and just pressing on there and just making sure it's going centered. I wish I could film it. I don't have my cameraman or a tripod with me right now, but that's just what you're doing. You're just pressing against that, holding this with your other hand, and just trying to get it as centered as you can, and it's starting to work. I'm trying to take a pair of pliers to kind of wiggle this thing out. I don't want to drill too much into here and ruin where the threads are going to be going. This thing just disintegrated as I tried to grab it, so that thing is definitely toast. I just wiggled it back and forth like I was pulling a tooth, and it came right out. It made a hell of a mess. So there's the aftermath there. Bunch of metal shavings and destroyed gear. That's what the new one looks like for context. So this part's going to be a little bit tricky. I've just been holding it like this, letting gravity kind of center that thing and keep it down. Then taking a pair of those needle nose pliers and just slowly twisting, and eventually we'll get some threads started there. This will take a while. I ended up trying to go through this side. It just seemed to want to start a little bit better. I probably should have tried drilling out the hole a little bit bigger, but I still got it to go in nonetheless. So that's rethreaded now, so we're gonna see what we gotta do with that stuff there. Did a rough test fit there just to make sure that it lines up and everything, and as you can see, everything is spinning together. So of course this is loose, but you get the idea. We'll tighten that up and get that back together. To snug that up, I just used this Phillips head bit and then this 1/4" wrench to get on there and then snug it up a little bit. You don't want it super duper tight to ruin any of those tiny little threads, but you just want it just right. And now that everything spins freely, we are good to go. one last check with the motor back on. We're spinning that, and the odometer is slowly moving up. Which is exactly what we want. I might put a little bit of a dab of grease on some of this, but otherwise should be good to put this thing back together. And because the threads of the new gear stick out, we can't put the original screw back in. It won't fit. So that other little screw that it came with, the top part goes through the top, and then that little thing goes in the bottom there, and that just threads in and just works. Just snug it by hand, it'll get it crazy tight. And yeah, this thing's all back together now, so we can toss it back in our cluster there and get her back together. I put a dab of white lithium on the end of the gear there. I can't spin it now because it's back together, but it should distribute as this thing turns and turns and turns. So just a hair of white lithium there. Pontiac Easter egg. Also, it might not be a terrible idea to start changing all these bulbs out, but these are old school Toshiba bulbs. My Toyota gauge clusters actually use the same bulbs from back in the day, and they seem to all work just fine. And honestly, these old bulbs are probably a better quality than the new ones you put in, so we're just going to leave them alone for now. Once you have that in there, you get this thing. The long way goes up. Don't put that in upside down. That just sits on there. Then you take your face, slide down the tripometer reset, make sure it's all flush. Then we'll get those two tiny screws. They go in there like so. Then you push on your speedometer, just kind of center it before the 5 and the tripometer reset there. And get your bezel, lay it down. I'm going to take some glass cleaner and wipe up this, wipe up around to get dust off the surfaces of this, and then I'm going to polish up that as well. Just some extra stuff you don't have to do, but I'm going to do it since we're in here. Alright, then installation is reversal of removal. You just pick this thing up from in here, slide it in, make sure your holes are lined up, push it in, make sure it clicks into the wiring harness. All the holes are lined up, so now we can put the screws back in, then put our column back, and then toss all of this back together. Alrighty, it's been a couple days since we did the repair. Just to show you that it has in fact been working. I've not reset since I fixed it. It's working like a charm. I did change that to 186,700 just because I figured I'd gone at least 200 miles. But yeah, the bird is good as new. Another little thing you can do to restore or semi-restore your 3rd Gen F body. This should work on Camaros, I believe, as well. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different. The process of getting it all apart is still a different dash and bezel and everything. But for your 85 and up Firebird, it should work like a charm. That being said, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the description down below. And we'll catch you guys next time with some more 3rd Gen F body videos. In the next one, I think we'll show you guys how to polish and restore the taillights and the filler panel on the back of this thing. Make those lights shine just a little bit brighter. Peace out.